You likewise.
Good to see you.
Thank you both for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Wherever you'd like.
Oh, yeah, it goes, yeah.
So I believe we are recording. Did you all get a message that we're recording? Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, sure. Help.
Take it more.
No, that's all good. So welcome, everyone. This is the July meeting of the Wharf District Council, July 16th. We are not going to have an August meeting unless something really important happens.
Right.
And we're hoping nothing really important happens so that we don't have to have an August meeting. So after this, we will see you all in September.
On the 17th.
On the 17th of September. Thank you. We're going to start out as we typically do with a District A1 update. Who's going to be great? Captain Martin, thank you very much. This should shift over to you.
Good evening, everybody. As usual, well, let's start. So crime wise, you guys don't have much to be worried about over here, but we have seen trend wise an uptick in homeless activity throughout the entire district, and it's impacting you all as well. We're attributing this to they're doing a lot more enforcement action up on Atkinson Street, which is, you know, pushing a lot of them out now, and they're finding their way down the Common, and the Wharf, and the Greenway, and the West End. So it has been a challenge. The numbers definitely been increasing a lot more than we ever like to see them. However, we're working on a daily and nightly basis with a coordinated response team, Pine Street, Marion Ponte Street Outreach, our community service officers. We're going through, we're getting them housing, offering them housing, moving them along. No tents are being allowed to stay up, they're being removed immediately. For those who don't accept the resources, we're taking enforcement action where necessary. So we're trying to do that as a last resort, of course, but again, we can't allow, you know, the numbers to start multiplying and people being here for an extended period of time, which is going to be a problem for everybody. So guarantee we'll never let the tents pop up for more than a couple hours. As soon as you all see them, please notify us. Whether it's 311, 911, and we'll get people down the minute we hear about it. So sometimes you got to understand with 311, it might take a couple of hours. If you do it Friday afternoon, we might not get it till Monday. So just try to call. If no one comes soon, just call 911. We'll get down here. We'll move it and do it.
So did the Supreme Court decision change your approach toward the homeless?
No, so the mayor's city ordinance back in November, once she changed city ordinance, city council that allowed us the ability to remove them.
Gotcha.
So without the ordinance, that would help, but we already had the ordinance in place. So once we got that up, District 1 was always, I'm anti-tent. We're not going to let them pop up. We're going to give people resources, but we're not going to allow. Once you start allowing the tents, it multiplies. And more issues come with it. You don't know who's in the tents or what's taking place there. They usually the sexual assault, drug activity. You just can't allow them. So again, A1 will not allow the tents to pop up. We'll keep working with our partners to try to deal with it.
Yeah.
And,
Go ahead.
Bob, Captain,
Yes.
before you go on, I know there's a concern that people calling 911 when they see a situation that they feel that it's 911 is not something they should be doing. They should just call 311. That they're concerned that it's not appropriate.
So I can appreciate that. So whenever you feel you need to call 911, call 911. However, you got to realize, depending on what you're calling about, the response may not be immediate, right? So if you call about the tent, it may take a couple hours. It's not a priority call. However, if we don't get the call, we don't know about it. I definitely would prefer 311 and issues such as that, the things that don't require an immediate police intervention. We do compile them myself, Sergeant Cross, and we address them as they come in. Each and every Sergeant Cross calls everyone who leaves contact information on there, the phone numbers, and we will address it. That is the best avenue. However, like I said, if it's Friday and you put the 311 and Saturday, the tents are still there, we're just not getting it. So in a case like that, I mean, I wouldn't have an issue. They shouldn't have an issue feeling like they can't. Right. And I never want people to feel like they can't call. However, just realize it's not going to be a priority one. We're putting out fire after fire, so it might take us a while to get.
Okay.
That answer your question.
Yes, it.
All right, so on the crime front, again, you guys got really nothing to even talk about, but just because I'm here. So you had in front of the Marriott Long Wharf, you had a suspect breaking into a vehicle. The owner of the vehicle returned to the vehicle, seen the suspect in the vehicle. He and his girlfriend chased the suspect down, caught her in front of Tews Waterfront. They held him down with the assistance of one of the employees from Tews. He fought them, so the police came, they did a good job holding him, the police came, arrested the suspect with the victim's property. There's victim's property along the route where they chased him, and they identified him in the car, so he was placed under arrest. Nobody was injured, but, they left the vehicle open as well, he didn't break any, and he just tried the door and got in there. But the case cleared. You had a homeless gentleman, assault 2 juveniles down here at 74 Long Wharf on July 4th, about 9 p.m. So the homeless gentleman had words with the juveniles. They're kind of going back and forth. The homeless gentleman grabbed one of the young kids by the throat. Was walking him back, and his cousin tried to help him. His cousin started punching the homeless individual. Kind of went back and forth for a little while. And then the homeless guy fled. We got the video of it, trying to identify him. There'll be someone in the report if we ever identify him. No injuries, very minor. It's a quick little altercation. Again, this is anything the community has to worry about. It wasn't anything targeted. It was just them exchanging words in that moment. Kind of moved on. So this is just a weird one. This is yeah, it was over at 80 Atlantic Ave. Called for assault progress. A lady was sitting on the bench, said a suspect approached her, started going through her belongings, throwing it in the water, scattering her along the ground. When the police came, this individual knew the suspect, knows where he lives, knows the apartment numbers, he lived in the same building, and knows that he was with his girlfriend. In the past, this person also said that this guy threatened to kill her, so it's probably, I believe, some kind of relationship going on, and getting in trouble back at home, so that's kind of BS. And it was just, no one was hurt, he just threw her stuff around, they had an argument. Nothing's happened since, but there's a little bit more to that one. You're not a random targeted individual. We believe they knew each other, they lived all the way, and girlfriend issues. This individual, again, just was behind the Intercontinental Hotel down the street. He was sleeping back there, woke up and couldn't find his bag. So another individual walked in with his bag. No violence. And he was, he needed some help. So he actually couldn't remember much anyway. So he had many concussions. So he may not even have his bag stolen. He just might not know where to put it. So again, nothing to be concerned about. And then you had, again, just a person was staying at the hotel here, Battery Wharf Hotel, met a female over at the casino, had her come back to the room, they get an argument. She stole his watch, I believe, and took off. So whatever arrangement they had didn't work out.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
So,
It is.
so again, no issue, you're not a random act of violence, no random persons, were targeted, you have nothing to worry about as far as that, these individuals have issues with themselves. And the only other thing that we could pull up on here was 177 Milk Street, a former employee who's been trespassing the property, returned to the property. No issues, he just returned after he'd been trespassing, warned, and he was told to leave his summon, and he left peacefully. Aside from that,
Well,
yeah, this is one of the better meetings to come to.
absolutely.
You get to watch.
That's great.
I guess so we have no concerns for anything over here, minus the homeless. I know they're gonna be putting a fence up in the area over here to try to mitigate that for the summer.
Huh.
Aside from that, you got something that?
Yeah, just the scooter cap, if you want to touch on mopeds and scooters, that's a big concern for people.
You want to touch on that?
Sure, so, again, for those of you who don't know me, Sergeant Zach Cross, in the Community Service Office, the captain's in charge of the whole district, and then I'm his kind of neighborhood community liaison, for lack of a better term. So the city's been having an increased issue with some of these food service delivery drivers. And then you have some, young people who will take their scooters, mopeds, and drive wheelies and do the donuts on them and shut the intersections down, et cetera, right? So there's two different types of things happening there. Either way, it's really causing an uptick in our complaints, 911 concerns, 911 calls, and then just general, displeasure with the behavior that's been, the motoring behavior that we're seeing across the city. So the commissioner of the police department, the chief of streets, and is there anyone from the city council's office signed on to the letter as well? I believe they reached out to all the.
We did, yeah, I did, yeah. And
Excellent.
we
So,
had a hearing last week with Yasha, and the police were there to discuss the.
so maybe I may have you follow up after this to talk about what the city council's doing, but basically to get in touch with all the food delivery companies and say, hey, your drivers need to, your delivery team need to be in compliance with mass laws. You need to have registrations, insurance, and licenses, and helmets, and drive with the signs and signals, right? One way is the right way, and drive safe on your scooters. That's half the problem. So the department has citywide done a little bit of enforcement effort to identify who's driving the scooters illegally, who's unregistered, who's unlicensed. We got 9 the other day in about an hour. Yesterday, I should say, right in the pedestrian zone, there's kind of riding up the street.
You guys.
Sorry, go ahead.
So we're making an effort. We hear the concerns. We know that they're driving recklessly. They're scaring our elderly, people across the street, people with children who can't get out of the way fast enough. These riders are very inconsiderate for pedestrians, and so we heard it. We hear your concerns. We are addressing it. Ma'am, if you'd like to touch on what the policy change is going to be.
Yeah, no, so the hearing order was filed a month ago, and we held it last week. And Yasha, the chief of streets, was there, and but the police were there, but the Boston police were there also. But for us, or for me, I should say, there's city policy, and then there's changes to our streets. Obviously, we have more bike lanes and other changes that are happening, but then there's also enforcement. The focus for Yasha, chief of streets, was on just kind of the scooters with delivery, but overall, the concern across the city, maybe not as much right down here on the waterfront, but is the unregistered scooters that drive around, crowds that scare neighbors, maybe get into accidents. There is a community meeting Thursday night with Julian here and Councilor Clinton itself are going to intend to kind of address that bigger issue. So they talked about, wanting, because DoorDash and Uber Eats were there and they spoke about their policy. So they do back up the fact that if you're a driver, there are rules and you have to follow them, but then making sure that if they don't follow them, that they use their license. But I mean, it's kind of a little bit like, do we want cars double parked dropping off people in food? Do we want scooters? How does it go away? And I think a lot of people have become very reliant on delivery. I never used Amazon until the pandemic, and now before I never used it in my life, and now.
Oh,
Right, but
even though you're embarrassed by it.
I know, it's not, sometimes. Yeah, but the concern, right, that and for many people who were at the meeting at that meeting, they wanted to address more traffic. About, the changes with the bus lane and the bike lanes that are affecting small businesses and the traffic around the city. But on top of that, we do have to address that, Uber, not just Eats, but drivers and dashers. So I think a lot of policy I see is there's enforcement. Like the law is probably already on the book, like the tent encampment, but what do we need to do on the council or the mayor's office to make sure that the police have the tools or at least the backing, right? There's a lot of neighborhoods when I'm at meetings, they want, more people say to get pulled over for speeding, and then the captains and those neighborhoods say, but then we get backlash that we're pulling over too many people, right? So it's a dance.
But
I mean, we already know we can arrest someone because if you're driving a motor scooter that needs to be registered.
Does
And
it?
A lot of the policy, yeah.
help us understand
I
what
think
does
it's
and doesn't.
30. So it's 24 miles.
What I
Yeah,
was
and
asking.
then the new scooter, you see people with the stand-up, like standalone scooter, that goes fast enough. So a lot of it too, which is something we need to take, I think, a close look at. The city is, it's the RMV, right? It's the state.
Right.
that Enforces that law.
Right.
But we know, but the police said that they were very up on the rules. And making sure people do know that you can be pulled over if you're driving like on a stand-up scooter, if you're on a moped that now. And the laws were written when these older mopeds were very different.
Yeah,
If you had a moped, you definitely had a helmet, you registered it, it was a big deal. Now there's so many, you could go probably go on Amazon and buy yourself a scooter, right?
I think you probably can.
Yeah. The variety of mobility, right, is good, but also making sure that, and there was talk, which I think I'll definitely share out after, because I don't have all facts, but what's allowed in the bike. We have bike lanes, we have bus lanes. If you're supposed to be registered and you have a list, I think you can read, like, are you supposed to stay in the car lane? But if you're, many of the scooters go in the bus lane, or if they don't follow the rules, which I bet you see often, right? The concern that even bikers, and even motorized, but bicyclists aren't following the rules, and we have all these new bikes. So,
I mean, I wonder if people know what the rules are. I mean,
which doesn't mean you're exempt from.
No, it
Right?
doesn't.
No, I know, but it's true. I think one of the things, and I hope Thursday's meeting comes out of that, and I often say it is our job. I feel it's my job, especially in that our city council, that it's our job to get that information. Right? If there's
Well,
changes or-
ours too, right? I mean,
To share with people, right? Or even like the calling 911 if there's a. You don't want to be on a recording sounding like you're overreacting, but at the same time, you want the police to know there's something they need to address. So
I think it's a fair statement to say not everyone knows the rules, but most of these people know. You know you can't drive the wrong way down to Tremont Street. You can't ride on the sidewalks. They know when they see us, they take off pretty quickly. So some of them may not, know about the bike lanes or what they could do, but I'd say most people are doing this deliberately because there was lack of enforcement options to it. But been changing, recently making registered vehicles and giving us the ability to go tow them and do all this. We're still not really chasing and doing any of that unless a violent crime took place, but it gives us some tools where we can actually enforce it. And I think within 3 districts, and don't hold me to this, in a week and a half, I think they've towed, I don't know, 70 or 80 of these scooters, so.
now I try.
what does need to be registered?
So I'll make this very quick, right? So you have a motor bigger than 49 cc's. Which is essentially a little bit bigger than a weed whacker engine. Right? If it can go more than 25 miles an hour, which is essentially all of them. If it can do either of those, if you can take a passenger, okay, so if you're gonna ride it as a moped. I'm sorry, yes, if you're gonna ride it as a moped, right, which is what we're seeing, all these delivery drivers, those are mopeds, right? They need to have headlights, they need to have turn signals, they need to have a helmet, they need to have goggles. They can ride with a passenger, that passenger also has to have helmet and goggles, right? They essentially have to behave as if they're a motorcycle. You don't have to have a motorcycle license or a moped. You can have a learner's permit or a good car learner's permit or regular driver's license. But a lot of the ones that we're seeing are registered as actual motorcycles, which means they need insurance, they need inspection sticker, you need a Class M endorsement on your license.
So what about all the electric bikes? If you go to New York City, there are thousands of just electric bikes.
Electric bikes currently fall under the pedal bike statute, which is chapter 89, section 1, which everything's a $25 fine, something like that, right? I think that'll be the next thing the state has to legislate is these electric bikes. Someone that can go up every 4 miles.
Oh, yeah.
I think the laws just haven't caught up with the laws haven't caught up with technology. That's all, which is, we're always behind, right? Laws are always lagging.
Norm, you have a question?
Yes, I do. Since I have the right audience here, what actually is allowed in a bike lane?
Mopeds, scooters, the ones that don't do over 25. The e-bikes are allowed in, the segways or the vest, not the vest, but they call them like the bird, it's like the stand up. It looks like a little, yeah, it looks like a little razor scooter you have with a kid with an engine on it.
They are.
They are allowed in the bike.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question regarding the number of accidents that occur with bicycles or mopeds or whatever. I see so many of them driving on the sidewalks, going through red lights, stop signs, totally disregarding particularly pedestrians. And yet we never hear about any accidents or any kind of information on what's going on. Are there accidents occurring? Is there someplace where this information is given?
So we could dig, I don't have the information for you right now, we could dig it up and find out exactly how many, but I skim through the reports almost daily. I don't come across a ton of accidents.
Okay,
I mean, a lot of people won't report a lot of minor stuff anyway, but we haven't had a lot of people injured or hurt seriously or anything. Really not a lot of instances of them striking pedestrians. But we can, for the next meeting, well, next meeting's canceled, right?
Yep.
So maybe for
except
September, we could just post them up and email them to you as well if you want before. then.
Yeah, well, September's fine.
Okay.
Hey all, I apologize. I've had to jump in and out of this meeting and you may have already covered this, but regarding bicycles, has it been addressed, the bicycles and scooters that are going on the Greenway? Because I've had a couple pretty close accidents walking my dog.
Yeah, they're not permitted on the Greenway.
Nothing's being done to enforce it, and those little stencil signs on the ground do nothing. I think we need to put some sandwich boards up or some actual signs saying motorized vehicles are not permitted.
Chris Cook is here and he's taking notes.
So I would say that.
I have to tell you, and not only have I and my dog almost been injured, but the ones that are on the Greenway, they act like it's their motorway.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna, if you're walking with your dog, they expect you to get out of the way.
So ma'am, I could jump on that. So just describing how they're behaving, the sign's not gonna change that, right? So. And if you put a sign up, the Greenway is beautiful. If you put a sign up for every infraction, you'll have nothing but signs as well. So
Well, you know, I lived in London for a while, and one thing that they did in London that I think would work really well here, and I can try and get pictures, is a staggered, you would have to get off. Well, I mean, in these areas, you were allowed to bike, but you would have to get off. It was a staggered metal frame. And I don't know if that would make a difference, but you know, what I've seen historically is getting a couple police officers out and really having some presence for a little bit with those folks will wake up and
Yeah.
stop.
Well, and you have the right audience here in the room and they have heard you and I'm sure that they will take your concern into consideration, right? It's fair to say, Chris? Cap-
Sorry, I've had to jump in and out.
No, that's great. Appreciate it. Thank you. Anything else from either one of you guys?
So again, just like Sergeant Crossan said, we're up in the enforcement level on the mopeds and scooters. People pretty happy about it. We're gonna continue that. With my main focus is violent crime. That's always my top priority. So we're gonna keep on that. However, this enforcement will continue and escalate a little bit. So the numbers should stack up. Hopefully enough, we educate people enough and taking enough scooters where people don't want to keep replenishing them that it quells some of the activity. So between that, what the city council's done and what they intend to do, I think will really help with that. But
Okay.
aside from the scooter stuff, is there anything else outstanding that anyone wants to ask us or any issues down the wharf that we didn't address tonight?
Mark, if it's okay,
Sure.
Captain, Sergeant, just, it's more of a compliment, and then an invitation to continue working on it. We've noticed how active A1 as well as the additional bike unit, and I'm not sure how that deployment works, has really, I don't mean to make a sore subject, but we love having police officers on bikes on the Greenway. That's a special case that is allowed and they don't go too fast. So that is the one exception that we think is really important. It sends such a powerful message. I can't begin to tell how everyone in this room, how incredibly responsive A1 has been to every single Greenway issue we flagged. And it has not been an easy summer at all. The unhoused population, there's a lot of new faces. And I do think there's an uptick in needle usage as well as it's not because of the disposal program. we are finding more. So it's all very serious stuff, but every single time we call the Boston Police Department, they show up and respond, and we're just so grateful because there isn't, I mean, I just can't imagine what's on your plate being an A1 with all the special events. Very grateful.
Of course, we appreciate that. What's important, like you mentioned, is we're on some email chains together, and as soon as we're notified, we'll act. So that's why I
Yes.
tell you. And that's why I mentioned earlier, 311, 911, or just call the CSO's office. As soon as we're made aware, Zach will reach out to the patrolman, or I'll reach out to Zach, or if I'm driving, I'll stop sometimes. And we'll handle it in real time. So the sooner we know, the better.
Yeah.
The biking and the stretch so thin, but I do request.
They
we
are
get it through.
transformative.
Yeah.
I mean, just the behavior, it's all positive. Everyone associates positive activity with the bike unit. It's incredible.
Well, I'm gonna tell you that they're the ones pushing the people off Packer Street down here, so it's kind of their fault too. So
Great.
They do, no, they do great.
Thank you both very much for everything that you do. Great. No, I think that's great. Appreciate it. You're, yeah, you're welcome, welcome to stay. We're delighted that we have Councilor Murphy to join us. And,
Yeah, you wanna stay on, yeah, but trust me.
I'll call you. I won't say anything bad about it.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you both. Councilor Murphy, thank you very much for joining us. Let's see, let's move this speaker or mic down toward you. So
Thank you.
great.
Thank you for inviting me. It was not that I missed any appointments, but on my busy schedule, it was like highlighted stars, do not miss. But thank you for having me. Erin Murphy. I'm pretty sure I know all of you in the room, but announced in your at-large city councilor, and I'm glad I was here to kind of listen to some of the reports from the police, because there are issues I'm working on with my colleagues. And so I'm currently your at-large city councilor, so I'm here to talk to you as I represent the neighborhood. But another extra thing is I am running for Wharf, which is an election that's coming up in September. So after we talk about the for this neighborhood, we can, if you have any questions about that. But first and foremost, I'm here as your city councilor, so thank you for having me. A few things I'll just start that I heard when we did make sure, which was very necessary, got the fence down on Acton Street, and there was a lot of negative activity going on down there. I called for a public health emergency. It was just not good for the people living on Acton Street. The sad fact, though, I would say about 70%, maybe more of those who were in that area were not the ones struggling. So it goes back to my concern that we're a rich city, but do we get our resources out? So many of the people that were there for months and then turned into years were the ones who were selling the drugs, or they were the ones who were committing the crime. So absolutely necessary that the tents came down. They came down, but then what happens? The population doesn't go away. The population we need to support. So they spread out more across the city. Something now that we're making sure that we're addressing. The street outreach team and all of the police and city resources were at least able to be targeted in one area. There were always low overflow. There's always been a homeless population, say on the Tremont side of the common. We would see a few Andrew Square, but now there's definitely more of a concern that with small tents, people sleeping out, or drug use, it is happening across the entire city. So one thing we do have to make sure is that the resources are there, because it means we need more people, because they have to be spread out over 22 neighborhoods now. It used to just be mostly in one area. The other thing that happened after we went through the budget hearing, and I asked a lot of questions to public health about one of the things is a syringe. A lot, not a lot, but many resources, especially in the public health budget, were being funded over the last few years through OPER, definitely homeless issues and supports that were happening down on Acton Street. As we know, that federal funding is gone now. So when we went through the budget cycle this past year, there were supports like the syringe redemption program, which we knew has been funded over the last few years through OPER, wasn't going to continue to be funded. And they were pretty confident that they'd find other resources, but we did find out last week that that program ended. They collect millions of needles a year, and so it's definitely something that was a resource that was needed. So calling last week at the council meeting for them to find ways, like we have to find ways in the budget to make sure that they have resources. The New Market bid, like the downtown Boston bid, they support and they put some of their resources to clean up the needles, but making sure that that program and that support's there, I think is very necessary. Because we're definitely, I mean, I've heard from A1 directly in other neighborhoods that the needles are back. And what that does is it's not, say, just Clifford Park in Roxbury, whose kids can't play football and the park's not clean, it's been something neighborhoods across the whole city. So something we have to really, and I know the entire administration is on board, but how do we make sure that that's just kind of one example of our funded programming that to make sure it doesn't go away because it's public safety for the residents, for the tourists, which then, you know, it's all connected. People will stop coming to downtown if they feel they're not safe. So making sure that that's addressed. So I just wanted to touch on that. I'm in my 3rd year on the council, chair of strong women, families and communities. I think it's the perfect committee for me because I'm a strong woman, right? Who loves my community. And if you don't know, before I became a city councilor, I was a Boston public school teacher. 22, 24, but just counting. And raised my kids. My youngest is 24 now. He's going to be getting married soon. So I've raised my kids. They're here in the city. So that's been wonderful. Teaching was wonderful. Classroom teacher for many of those years. And then the last several years, I was a special ed coordinator, right when then COVID hit. So that was intense, but it definitely showed up and made sure that our families and our students were getting the services they needed. Despite the fact that I'm the only school teacher on the council, definitely the strongest voice pushing back on making sure that all of our students across the city of Boston have access to quality schools. Unfortunately, that's just not true. Chronic absenteeism has been something I've been working on. Some schools have as high as 95%, some of our smaller high school programs, and on average, we're at about 38%. The federal level is 10, so that means you can miss 18 school days a year, and then it's considered chronically absent. And so when many of our students aren't even showing up to school, and on any given day, that could be 20,000 children, right? When you have 40%, I know the enrollment in BPS has been dropping, but so to me, when it seems like that should be a public health crisis, right? That should be why we're not anything out in the streets to make sure the kids aren't showing up to school, then kids aren't, right? So we have to make sure that we're getting kids to show up first, but then we have to also make sure that we're offering them all the resources they need. Obviously, school, strong believer that school is a place to learn how to read, but it's also definitely a place to learn how to, social emotional needs, how to be a good friend, all of that. Many of our students, school, we saw during the pandemic, anyone who works in school already knew this, that for many, it was the only place that they got their meals, it may have been the only place that it was a positive, safe place. So making sure that every school, and we spend the most, we have a $1.7 billion school budget. And we spend the most per student. And so we definitely have the resources. So we have to make sure that we're spending them wisely and connecting and getting resources they need. So that's important to me. I don't know if you saw, but we did have a marathon budget meeting a couple of weeks ago. I got home at 1:30 in the morning. Yeah, but it was definitely worked, with our colleagues to make sure that, the mayor put forth what I thought was a very fair budget, making sure that we're expanding on things that I'm a strong advocate for. I could speak for it, after school programming, access to swimming. I was just on the phone with BCYF earlier because they thought maybe the pool in the Zara pool closed, but it was that they were at capacity. So making sure that, that especially during the summer, that our kids and our families have the resources they need. We're such a rich city. We have to make sure that everyone feels that they can be successful here in the city. The reason, one thing I do tell people is when I decided to run for office, it wasn't that I didn't like my job anymore. I still loved being a teacher. It was bittersweet to leave, but felt that, always was a strong supporter and advocate, and for my family, it's not just my students, I'm very close with. One of my former students works with me now this summer. I've had former students working with me. One would just call me today to say she registered for the first time, and she's so excited that she's gonna be voting for me in September, which is always great to hear. So definitely, I think speaks to my, commitment, but also, my upbringing in Dorchester, born and raised my family there, strong community. And something I think like this neighborhood, there's other neighborhoods around the city where some people forget that you're a resident, right? You're a neighborhood that needs resources like schools and ambulances and all of those quality of life issues. I do believe my number one job is to deliver quality constituent services and also to show up at the council meetings and hearings and advocate for the concerns and needs of the residents as an at-large city councilor. Depending on what neighborhood and what, what the needs are, it may change, but often many things are the same. I did say that the police report here was humorous, but definitely things can
Better that
happen
way.
here. So big one, that's I'm definitely wonderful, supporter of the first responders. And I know that in every neighborhood, and more so, I say this all the time, and it's true. I live in a neighborhood definitely has more crime than this, but when I go to the community neighborhoods across across the city, that it's almost always the neighborhoods who have high crime, who don't feel safe walking, who are afraid, to let their kids out and play. They want more police presence. They want like things like you said. It can be so changing, right? If Almont Park and Mattapan had a couple more bikes drive through, then it really does make a difference that the families and people can, take advantage of the resources across the city. So I've been showing up and being what I believe is a great city councilor, and happy to be here. If you have any specific questions about what's happening on the council or how I can be more of an advocate to your neighborhood, this district, please let me know.
Thank you, Counselor. I think you know this already, but I will just reiterate that we have, and we're going to talk about a couple of our major issues. Thankfully, crime tends not to be one of them, but the two issues that we are dealing with on a regular basis is this issue of traffic and the reconfiguration of State Street and how that's going to play out. I think it's fairly clear, as I will mention a little bit later, that we're not going to get the 2 lanes that we had wanted, 2 lanes of traffic. Yasha made that very clear to us. But that doesn't mean that we don't still want State Street to be functional. And there remains a lot to be done on that. Partly relative to the design and partly relative to the way that it's managed and policed. And so I think it's going to take a while, and you may be off doing other things at that point, but I think it's a here and now issue for us.
Yesterday, there was a modernization of Article 80 meeting, and one of the big things for the changes that the planning board, the planning department, I should say they're a department now since July 1st, but one of my concerns, and again, as an at-large city councilor at all the different neighborhoods, when I went to say Orion Heights and East Boston, when they were pushing the Plan East Boston, and 85% of the neighborhood was again, showed up, and those there in the meeting, overflow, hundreds of people there. A project close to my house in District 3, there was the change of use for a hotel that was going to be then used for Pine Street Inn for homeless, and just different examples like that. The Summer Street pilot program, many traffic meetings in South Boston were well attended and very strong voiced opinion from everyone. Some people will say it's the same few people across the city who always speak up. That's why we need to change how this Article 80 works. But to me, I don't want it to ever take away the voices of the community. And like I said, the reason I ran for office was I wanted to lift up the voices for everyone, and not everyone feels like their voice is listened to. And sometimes it is that person who's willing to show up, and maybe they're the ones who want to be on IAGs and others. So we shouldn't be, upset with people like yourself. I know I've been at meetings with both of you about State Street, so I think it's important that we don't ignore the fact that lots of neighborhoods across the city are feeling like, despite the fact that there was a process and despite the fact that they said they could share their concerns, it still happened.
Yeah, right.
It just, you woke up and it's like, wait, but didn't we all just say it's not what we wanted? And a pilot is a permanent thing. We haven't seen one pilot not, go away. It's not like, like Summer Street, now they're enforcing. The first few months, you could drive straight up Summer Street in the bus lane, and oftentimes that's how I drive home, and you'll see 4 or 5 cars pulled over at the time because they're definitely ticketed now.
Yeah.
So we can address the scooters, and we can definitely talk about, DoorDash and food delivery, but it's the bus lanes and the bike lanes also that are costing
No
a
question.
lot. And in the Seaport, the industry down there, last year, I was at a few of their kind of on-site meetings where they have the cones out, and they were showing like what will happen. A delivery truck won't be able to get in. This isn't like that, we don't like bikes, or it's literally going to crush. Or Center Street. I mean, Center Street is another good example in West Roxbury, where lots of the changes in the configurations and the parking is so much less that the small businesses are seeing. I mean, they weren't just saying it, they are seeing it. It's been long enough now that there's data to show that a lot of people aren't parking on Center Street and going into the small businesses.
But they don't do anything about it.
Yeah.
It happened on State Street. State Street looks like a ghost town. All the small businesses are closed. There are still some. We spent almost 6 years trying to have our voices heard, and not just here, but the North End as well.
Yeah.
It just seems like we were not heard.
So
And
states,
unfortunately, sorry, but I feel like it's like human nature too, which is frustrating to me, is that, and people give up, right? Or they don't, well, they're like, you move on, or like the schools. Okay, only less than 30% of our third graders read on grade level. Guess what? If you can, and only 10% of our ESL and special ed students read on grade level in third grade. So that's just an example, like if you're a parent who tries to get every child deserves quality education, but if again and again, your child's being placed in an underperforming school, what do? If you can, or you don't, and then your child becomes one of those statistics, unfortunately, probably that can't get into an exam school, or can't pass the 10th grade MCAS, because we just continue to pass them along. At what point will we use the data
Mhm.
to then say, wait, no, we need to make a change?
So it's clear to me, and I think all of us, that you understand the issues that we are concerned about, that and, resilience for our area, and the ongoing stuff that's design and studies that are going on for Long Wharf, the BPDA's work is involved with. You have a much broader perspective than we could possibly have. I guess my hope is that you can, along the way, give us some advice as to how we can be as effective as possible. Whether or not we're talking to the right people, whether or not we're just beating our heads against the wall. At this last meeting, we basically said, uncle, now let's change gears. But if there's anything else that we can do to properly represent the voices that are important and that you also represent, please give us some guidance, because we're all ears.
Absolutely. And that's what I started to say, sometimes you see people just give up, or the community meetings that used to be well attended, they're like, well, they don't listen to us. And I think in the last couple of years, I've seen that more in neighborhoods that used to be way more well attended, like Savin Hill Civic or Cedar Grove. You have some of the West Roxbury ones, where is everyone? It used to be well attended, and a lot of people well, we tried. We worked really hard. We poured our heart and soul into it. We paid our own money to get studied. We tried to prove that there's, facts, try to back data, and things still happen. So
yeah,
it's frustrating. So I can see why people give up, but then how do we on the council, right? How do I and this really make sure that we keep people motivated?
Well,
It's a job I will definitely take on. I mean, I have been, but making sure that people
Sure.
feel, yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's frustrating for me too, right? Not just as a counselor, but as a resident.
Sure.
Yeah. Someone, my father house the other day, like, the crosswalk is so not, isn't painted. I'm like, ah, it's gone for 2 years. It's not people who do.
questions for the counselor?
Yes, this is Bob Payone. Councilor Murphy, thank you for being with us tonight. I wonder if you would share your insights as to the residential versus commercial taxes that are being discussed, and where your thoughts are on how the property tax issue should go in Boston.
I'm sorry, you broke up a little bit. Was it the tax classification?
Yeah, property
At today?
property taxes in Boston, residential versus commercial.
Sure. So we did have the mayor had put forth an ordinance that we had a hearing a few months ago. We had a few meetings on and I heard a lot from the business community, but also, homeowners. It was presented in a way that some homeowners feared that if we didn't allow the commercial tax rate to be on pause or not allow these downtown buildings, but it wasn't. That was the thing also. It wasn't just the large downtown businesses or hotels. It's the small coffee shop in Hyde Park, anyone who's a commercial business owner, for them not to be able to put in an assessment, to get an abatement on their taxes, that it would cause the already burdened homeowners tax rates to go up, and then people won't be able to stay in the city. I pushed back on that. I didn't agree that was true. The small increase that may go on to the homeowners would or not go on to the homeowners if this passes. It's just temporary. You're eventually going to get hit with that bill. And the other thing I kept asking for and didn't get is, well, what is our plan B? I mean, it's not being talked about at the State House now. If you are able to pause commercial tax rates to go down, which you said State Street's empty, right? The downtown businesses, but also the neighborhood, right? Restaurants in my neighborhood in Dorchester, dry cleaners in Hyde Park, all of these small mom and pops also are getting hit with these high taxes. They're not getting the same amount of revenue coming in. So what's the plan B? What are we going to do if it doesn't pass? One thing, and it was right when we were going through the budget, we could spend less. And we increased the budget by over 8%. And if we're coming into troubling times and we're not addressing the fact that we might need to tighten our belts a little, because eventually the taxes will be even higher if these small businesses and big businesses start to leave, right? That it's going to eventually hit us in a hard way. And how do we make sure that we're not looking at layoffs of city employees or eventually having to make the cuts that I believe are inevitable to come? And one other thing is, for the last few years, we've had millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in opera funding. Also, the school system had over 600 million, right? So, and that money's gone. That has to be spent by the end of the year, and it's already been, assigned to, like I mentioned, the Sharps program, but many programs, the free bus lines and and many things, obviously. A lot of the money, if I approved, went to, more affordable housing, but that money's gone. So the last few years, we've been a city that's been able to offer services on temporary money. And so some of those services we haven't noticed yet, because maybe you don't realize where the funding's coming from. But we'll start seeing over the next few months that programming will stop. Or maybe it was the training for the lifeguards, for example, here, but so now we no longer offer free training to lifeguards. So then next summer we don't have enough lifeguards. Like, it's going to be a snowball effect if we don't address the fact that if less revenue's coming in, it doesn't always have to be that somebody needs to pay for it. It can be that we have to see how as a city can we spend less. At the same time, what are we doing to bring revenue in? And I think hurting our commercial base is not the best way to do that. And we have, last year we had $193 million of unspent money. One of the things, to 1 o'clock that morning argued that on the council, we do have that new power. It's a good power or not, but the amendment process where up until the last few years, the mayor would send over a budget, you would say yes or no. I think it's always passed. If not, we have a few more conversations. But now we can submit amendments to the budget. But any amendment you submit, you have to say which department you want it to pull from. And overall, it was like less than 0.3% of the 1% of the entire budget. And we had, I would say, about 100 hours of debate over, which amendments should pass, which department should be pulled from, and kept reminding, like, if this is $11 million and we have 193 million sitting in unspent funds, why are we even debating this? If these are programs, some of it would, like, some examples would be offering more youth summer jobs, like greater than it's things that, offering more down payment assistance, supporting, our lowest paid city workers and some like home ownership or rental assistance, things that are definitely necessary, that we should be using the money that's like sitting there unspent before we ever expect any homeowner or owner to pay more. So I think I covered your question. If you had any more questions on that.
Thank you very much.
That was great. Thank you.
Complicated issue, obviously.
It's complicated, yeah, I think the balance, but without the commercial, we don't.
Yep.
A city that can run properly, we're not funding our schools, and we haven't been in a position in this city where we've had to make cuts in a long time.
Other questions for the counselor? Thank you so much for coming.
I appreciate it.
Really, it's
Thank you
wonderful.
for having me,
Yeah,
and I'll be in touch.
great.
And I know, Councilor Flynn. just,
Yep,
forget
We,
about
we appreciate it.
all of that, and I'll be with council meeting also on Thursday. Talking about scooters and all that, but also it ties into the bike lanes and
It does.
state streets, definitely. A situation that
Yep.
we need to address.
Great.
Yeah, well, thank you all.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Counselor.
Thank you.
I don't believe I see Tito on the call. Is Tito on the call? I think not. We'll come back to that. Let me just switch here to Chris Cook. Chris, would you like to talk for a second
Yeah,
about?
I'm happy to. I do have a,
Do we need to bring the speaker down? We could.
Yeah.
oh, sure. Do you want me to join and share from my
You're welcome to.
phone?
Mhm. Let me just, want to take a minute?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
All right, so I'm gonna swap around a little bit again.
Third autumn.
Yes. We have Shelley O'Neill on the line from O'Neill and Associates. For those of you who are participated or aware of the fact that our climate resilience task force had a strategic planning meeting. Thank you very much, Norm, for facilitating that. We came up with the recommendation that we engage someone to help us put together a strategic advocacy and outreach effort. And Shelley.
That's my fault, sorry.
All right. There you go. Good. And Shelley is one of the leaders of that group. Shelley, do you want to just introduce yourself and tell us all briefly what you're going to be doing for us?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Shelley O'Neill from O'Neill and Associates, and it's nice to see you all.
A little closer to the speaker, if you will, please.
Okay, can you hear me now? I apologize.
Yep.
Shelley O'Neill from O'Neill and Associates, and thank you for inviting me to be with you this evening. I have some colleagues who may be getting on around 6, so a few familiar faces may be popping on as well. But as Mark said, we've been engaged with our sister company 7 Letter to develop a strategic communications plan for the Wharf District Council. And we had an initial kickoff meeting on Monday. which went very well, and I appreciate everyone's time and efforts in working with us on that. But you know, we're going to be putting a plan together, and our framework, you know, our objectives are to really maintain and advance the work of the Climate Resilience Task Force that's been developed over the years, and to become the go-to on Wharf District issues, especially against climate change and sea level rise consequences. You know, we want to educate key stakeholders on the importance of immediate action and what needs to be done now. And we're going to identify potential local, state, and federal funding opportunities. You know, we're also going to be looking at how we can develop some, well, key stakeholder engagement, work to expand the membership of the Wharf District Council, especially east of the Greenway. And we started to put some framework together following our meeting on Monday that we'll be reporting back to Mark and putting, I guess, getting some dates and times, as Norm suggested, either 8 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so we can get some regularly scheduled meetings together. So our team will be working closely, you know, with Mark and with your group, so we can, you know, get this plan together, and it'll be the framework for you to really, you know, move forward and continue to advocate for on the projects that you've done and build support for it. And we'll focus on a short-term and a long-term strategy in that plan, because there are some immediate needs and focuses, especially with some RFPs coming out on the city side, that we'll want to make sure that there's inclusion of your plan. So we look forward to working with you. We appreciate the information that's been shared to date, and any other information that you think would be helpful or useful, you know, please send to us. And Mark, you can certainly share my contact information with everybody. And I don't know, I'm looking to see, but I know Ben Josephson and Chris Tracy may be getting on, but we have representation from the 7-letter side, as well as from our city, state, and federal side that'll be working on this project.
Great, thank you, Shelley. Charlene, I see that you're on as well. Charlene is at the Boston Children's Museum and is engaged in, and maybe you, it looks like you guys know each other. And Charlene is deeply involved in similar kind of efforts, so we will continue to try to share intent and good efforts in our common effort to keep the harbor where it is.
Absolutely. Boston Harbor now together, so thanks.
Norm has a comment or question.
Yeah, just a comment. I'm thrilled that this group is on board to help us with this messaging and delivery of the message. And I encourage everybody, if you can, attend the meetings, please. Because we can't have Mark be the only spokesperson for the Wharf District Council at, you know, all these various government agencies and people that we have to deal with. We need to have more people be able to comfortably and credibly deliver the message. And that's part of the reason we're engaging the O'Neill Group to help us craft that message in a way that people can learn it well and deliver it well. So please attend these meetings. They're important.
Thank you for that, Norm. Any other questions for Shelley? This will become more clear. We have a framework for what they're going to do, but I think as we get into the more tactical side of things, I think we're going to get a good roadmap, and all of us who were part of that meeting are very excited about working with you going forward. So thank you very much, Shelley.
Thank you too, and we'll give you the tools and the toolbox so you'll be successful in what you've done. So thank you.
Great, thanks.
I apologize again. I had to jump in and out. Will the dates of those meetings be posted?
Yes, we will make sure that everybody gets invited to the appropriate meetings when we don't have a schedule for them yet, but we certainly will.
Okay, because I thought I was had signed up for this, but I actually get involved through somebody who I live with in the building.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
Ann Fitzgibbon.
Okay, all right. Well, Suzanne is here, and she'll make sure that you get the information about the meetings.
That would be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so Tito, I see that you're on, but I think that Chris is going to is going to share his screen and then we'll come back to you if that's all right.
Absolutely fine. You're gonna see all my unread emails for a second.
Whoa, you're a brave man. Yeah, good.
Yeah, okay, great. So thank you very much, Chris Cook, Executive Director of the Rose County Greenway Conservancy. It's great to see everybody again. Never want to make any assumptions. There's probably some people on the Zoom that I don't. So if I don't know you, I hope to meet you in the park. Just a few reminders about what's going on, and then I have a few updates about what's exciting for August. So still on display for a limited amount of time through October is Gateway to Infinity. It's actually was touched up in mid-June. The artist interpreted our direction to touch up the mural in a very interesting way. So if you haven't seen it, it's really cool. She used metallic paint to touch it up to just show the wear and tear and that everything is temporary. So it's an interesting interpretation of touching up the mural. So I really liked it. Going to ground is being installed very shortly. As a reminder, this is the art project that's going to mark the home of Zipporah Potter Atkins, who was a Black woman who owned property on the Mill Pond, right where the Greenway is, right where the Freedom Trail crosses it, 100 years before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So just an extraordinary history to celebrate as we head into all these very, very important colonial celebrations. It's also important to remember our shared history, and we're super excited. This will actually be a recreation of her house. And if you've seen any of the signage or communication from the Greenway, folks have been contributing soil, and we're going to make the bricks for the foundation of the house out of the soil that people have been donating from places that are special to them. So it's just a way for people to personally connect with this amazing history. Super excited about that project. That will be up by the end of the
Chris?
Summer. Yes.
Is that going to be a permanent?
No,
exhibit?
no. All these are temporary installations.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to remind folks, if you haven't checked it out yet, and I think this dovetails very, very well with the Wharf District's resiliency planning, Lonnie Ascension, Songland Sea, wave water warning installation that's gone on. First off, it's absolutely beautiful. It's over by the light blades. It incorporates this amazing design, which includes this catch basin that she's designed and incorporated the climate ready flood resilience maps into the basin. And so as water collects in this basin, different neighborhoods flood in the maps. It's just fascinating. It also includes, and I'm doing it a disservice, I'm not going to read you the entire artist statement, but you've really got to go over and check it out. It includes a nautical bell. So perhaps you as the Wharf District can all go over there and ring the bell and sound the warning that we need to take big steps to take action on climate change. And Lonnie specifically put it where, it's very close to one of the most vulnerable portions of the Greenway. So if you haven't seen the installation, it's absolutely fantastic. And one thing I want to remind folks, and I'll send this communication for Suzanne to distribute, on July 25th, we're going to be having an opening celebration. And Lonnie's a very interactive artist, so she's going to have a lot of interpretive dance as part of the opening celebration. So I'll send that out to everybody, but I also think it's an opportunity for us to use art to highlight what the Wharf District Council needs and wants and is asking for. So look forward to following up on that.
Chris, where is that again?
Yeah, so right at the light blades, and you'll see the installation of her decals on the light blades like we've done in the past with certain art projects. But where the flag is flying, she actually has the basin being installed. So that will be fully installed over the next week and a half or so. There's still some moving parts to it. And again, I'm doing you can spend 45 minutes going through the ins and outs of the arts project. It's all individual craftspeople who contributed it. The reason behind it, she wanted to note that it's multiple communities that are vulnerable to climate change. It's all tied to climate change and very specifically sea level rise. So it's just an incredible process.
Can I just get more clarification on where that is? Because I think it's right in front of where I live. Because we just had the new sheets hung and the new, wall, I for lack of a better word, wallpaper on the spikes, on the spires. Is that where that's going in?
That's right, yeah, we call it parcel 16, that's right.
Okay, like right by the fountain?
Yep,
Okay,
thanks, Ann. So our fitness program's ongoing, so if anyone wants to get on 100-degree heat, you know, feel free to enjoy it. The drinkeries are fully open, not just Trillium across the street, but obviously, Night Shift, which is doing very well in Louis Square, and we're excited about that. Everyone's very familiar with the carousel at this point. My other slides aren't loading, so instead, oh, there they are loading. Okay, never mind. I want to remind people about the Greenway Markets, and including we're trying out the new location in the Wharf District for the Boston Public Market. So let us know what you think about that. If it's not successful, we can work with BPM to move it. I wanted to highlight, I know this isn't the Wharf District. This is actually, oh, sorry.
What parcel is the Boston Market?
I think it's High Street, but I'll double check for you. Yeah. Just very quickly, this is in the north end. So it's a little bit further out from the Wharf District, but this is my favorite event that the Rose Candy Greenway does. If you haven't seen this, it's on Thursday nights, Jazz in the Park. And by the way, Devo Ray, who's performing this Thursday, is absolutely phenomenal. As the sun goes down, there's kids splashing in the fountains, there's jazz playing, the park is full, everyone's having a good time. You grab some good food at BPM or the North End, and you just watch the jazz play. These Thursday nights are absolutely special. So go check them out. Or if you have people in town, there's just like, it's a very unique Boston experience. And then last but not least, for the folks on Zoom, I'll send this to Suzanne so she sends it out, but it's just a list of just highlights. We obviously have a lot more events than this in August, but I do have a paper copy for the folks in the room. So this is just the highlights, Mark.
Great.
Very grateful for all the support we get.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know, have you met Eric? Eric is
Very nice.
our new the new general manager for Rose Wharf, and I'm sure that we get this information, but from Chris, but you know, perhaps we already do share it one way or the other, but
Yeah.
it's a great resource.
Yeah, so I'll pass that to you and, you know, pass one down. Just, again, these are just the highlights of August. And I'll send you a digital copy, Suzanne.
Yeah. Great. Questions for Chris? Chris, we always love hearing about the exciting stuff that's going on. You do an amazing job. Absolutely incredible.
We're blessed with an amazing team, you know, and just, I forgot horticulture updates, so horticulture doesn't get mad at me. We're working on the understory or P17 and P16. So those are the light blade parcels. Those have been a little underwhelming over the past couple of years, introducing some more native plants into it. And we planted a new rosebud tree right at P16, so we're excited about that.
Are the sunflowers back or no?
They're not, you
No.
know, to be honest with you, the moment, they're back in very few spots,
Mm.
but their moment of glory doesn't outweigh the moments that they don't look glorious. And they don't outweigh the little friends that like to live among them.
Oh.
Yeah. So as
I have to
beautiful as
say,
that moment was,
I-
we cut it all back, so. Yeah.
I have to say, I loved the sunflowers, and I was a skeptic that they were gonna actually happen. But I would like to just throw out there that we have a lot of yellow on the greenway, and maybe adding a little bit more color of the rainbow of flowers would be something to consider as we move forward with plantings.
Yeah, it's actually a good observation. Even in our wildflower meadow, the yellow plants have taken over and they're a little bit tougher. So every once in a while, we got to reintroduce some seeds.
Wow, we are picky. All right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
If we're getting down to bespoke colors, we're in good shape.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you very much.
No, very grateful. Thank you.
I think we'll bounce back to Tito.
Yes,
I see Tito. Nice to see you. You look like you're in a car, but hopefully not driving. No, you're on mute.
I am not driving. Okay.
Good.
been working on chewing gum and crossing the street at the same time, but
Yeah.
I'm not driving. I wanted to, let me see if I can get this going. Okay. How's everyone doing today?
Good, good.
Awesome. I had two quick um proposals for the Wharf District. As you know, I operate two businesses at 150 State Street. One is Apex Noir Cannabis. We have been there for about a year and a half. We have about 22 employees, and things have been going very well, and we're really excited about being in the neighborhood. And it's actually been a really amazing time. And we wanted to propose some amendments to our hours. We actually currently operate on Sundays from 11 to 9, Monday from 11 to 9, and then 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Currently. And we have been doing well and have been growing over the course of the years. We do have to admit that there's a lot more competition in the city than we thought, and also in the area that we are in. And then we wanted to make sure that we are accommodating folks who are in and around our area. And about 6 months ago, one of our competitors actually was able to amend their hours at the Boston Cannabis Board. We would like to amend our hours in order to accommodate folks who are in the area a little bit later. We are proposing to still close on Sundays at 9 p.m. But we are proposing an amendment to the hours that would allow us to close at 12 a.m. With the amendment, we also have added an additional security officer just to make sure things are all set. We have not had, many problems in the area. We are always vigilant relative to individuals who are coming who may be intoxicated or the like, but we actually have not had many incidences that I can think of over the past year and a half. Did want to put this proposal forward to the Wharf District. I did want to note, and you probably have seen these all around the area, but there is street furniture that is advertising all throughout our district. One of the other companies that actually has extended their hours that is not too far away in the Fenway, and they're called Nudia. What you will not see is I will not be posting things that say late night shenanigans. I promise, Mark. You won't see
Good.
any Tito late night shenanigans. But we just want to make sure that we continue to be competitive in the industry, and also continue to support the amazing workforce that we have. And I did want to
Great.
see if there were any questions, and I do have one other proposal.
Yeah, so before we move to that, let me just mention the fact that at the end of this meeting, we'll ask the voting members to stay on so we can discuss it and decide how to respond.
Right,
But
so what
thank you.
Tito is requesting is a letter of support from us. My
go-
question, Tito, is exactly what are the hours and days that you're requesting an extension?
So Monday through Saturday, from 10 a.m. to 12.
Well, you're going from currently from till 11 p.m. to 12, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
So it's a
we-
1 hour extension.
Okay,
It's a
so
1 hour extension. Yes.
you want it 10 a.m. to 12, Monday through Saturday versus 11 a.m.
Yes,
to 12,
yes,
correct?
yes.
No.
No,
So the morning hours don't change, right?
No, the morning hours don't change.
let's start this over.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it that you're requesting, Monday through Saturday, what are the hours?
I'd like to add 1 hour.
Okay,
Um,
so it would
at-
be from
till
11
to move from 11 p.m. to 12 a.m.
to 12.
And you open at 10, right?
Yes.
10. You just said 11 p.m.
Slide back to your slide with the proposed hours, please.
I've got to write the letter, so
There you go.
I don't know what the,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, I apologize because we do open a little bit later on Sunday and Monday. I apologize. Susan.
Okay, I'll send that to you.
Okay, all right. Well, we're having a
I just-
discussion.
Yes,
Okay.
I just did a screen capture, so we got.
Okay. And so, and what about Sunday and,
I'll-
okay,
I can pull this up.
all right.
Yes, and you have something else you'd like to bring up.
Yes. One of the things, okay, that's the second slide deck. So a separate business that's operated in the same building, on the top 2 floors, is Apex Bar and Lounge, and we have a rooftop up there, which is really nice. It's a glass enclosure. At this time, we actually have a current non-live entertainment license. We are beautifully located in between 2 commercial buildings, which is actually very helpful. And we wanted to propose live entertainment that would allow us to come into line with the businesses that are in and around the area. There are some really cool places that are around us that add live entertainment. We actually have a gentleman who played at our April 15th grand opening. We have a R&B violinist named Fred Woodard. He's a Boston Arts Academy graduate and also went to Berklee College of Music, who would be really awesome. We are an R&B speakeasy. If you've been there, all of our drinks are named after R&B songs. So that is the theme of the place and space. And we would also like to have a live band slash or DJ and in our space. We are not that space is actually not ground level. So folks have to and I'm sorry, and then we are also our building is all 21. We don't actually allow anyone under the age of 21 into the building based on the 2 businesses that are there. So we actually have added 3 additional security. So between the 2 businesses, there are 5 security officers on duty while we're open.
And your liquor license is for the 6th and 7th floors, is that right?
Yes, the 6th and 7th floor. Yeah.
Right. And what is the capacity for each of those floors?
The 7th floor is 30, and the capacity for the 6th floor is 48. So we have a total of 78 across both floors.
And Tito, this is Norm Meisner. Is this all enclosed or is there a rooftop situation as well?
Yeah, so there is enclosed most of the time. We do have a glass retractable roof that we close at 11.
And there's no residential around you, correct?
No. So both the public consulting building is on the left, and then to the right of us is the insurance library building. So we are encapsulated with buildings that are non-residential, and then the buildings right behind us, the row with Hong Kong and while Rover and the like are on the other side on Chatham.
Hi, I just want to interject here. I think we're residential to you.
What's the
Unless-
question?
Yeah, I think well, is 199 State? I mean, I think because Apex is right around the corner from us. So we are residential.
Yeah, no, he's talking about the buildings adjacent to him, right?
Yeah, yes, yes. I'm not saying that, I absolutely have am not saying that people don't live in the Wharf District. Definitely not saying that.
Okay, I'm not
I was-
opposed to this, but I would want us to be, I think we're pretty, I mean, I think I could walk out, go into my bedroom and my guest bedroom and throw a penny and hit your building.
Okay. We'll take dollars too. Yeah.
Well, I'm not opposed to it because we haven't had any problems with you up till now, and I don't think we're gonna have any problems. But I don't know. I think one of the things that happens with our building is people don't realize there is a resident
What
building here.
what building are you in?
199 State, we're right in front of the Custom House. We just had
Oh, yeah.
a
Oh, yeah.
large group of
From the
We just had a large group of drunk people out 12:30 at night the other day that I walked outside and said, you gotta disperse. And they said, no, well, it's only bars here. Nobody lives here.
Yeah, no, well, we
People
certainly
do
know
live
that's not the case. Yeah, good.
Yeah, so but I've never seen any problems with Apex, so I'm not, I'm in favor of them being able to expand their hours.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tito? Okay. Thanks, Tito. We'll get back to you.
Thank you so much.
Let me see. The only, I think, we're kind of running out of time and energy here. I just want everybody to know that there is an event. We're going to hear about this more in September. But there is a conference coming up. It's called the Climate Beacon Conference, October 16 through 18. And it is actually a really a fascinating group of speakers that are going to be presenting. I think I saved it on my desktop here. There we go. Let me see if I can share this. Get out of there. There we go. This is all about climate resilience and preparing for a more sustainable energy future. We have a whole bunch of great speakers planned for it. I've been invited as a member of the Wharf District Council to be on the steering committee. We have Senator Markey, who's going to be there as well. There are going to be a series of conference presentations, harborside chats, field trips. I don't know how exactly what the role of each of the co-hosts is going to be, but that's still generally being worked out. A number of people are involved in this, as you can see on the steering committee. And the thing that's interesting, I think, is that we've come up with these 4 tracks: building better, which is obviously how we build our community in a more sustainable way; powering better, which obviously has to do with energy and infrastructure; adapting better, which is how we use what we currently have and use it in better ways; and then moving better, which is obviously transit oriented. So there are separate tracks for each of these. People can jump in between one and the next, or you can follow it all the way through. but it's going to be fairly comprehensive. And we are hoping that it will, that the result of this will be a report out or a series of recommendations or whatever that will allow us to take what comes from this and do something concrete and then continue it to discuss it in future years. So I did ask Alex to present, but unfortunately he was unavailable this evening. But if you want to find out more about it, please be available in September for the presentation that he will make then. And we'll get some more information for everybody if you're interested in attending. It's going to be at the BSA, but it's going to be at a bunch of other places also, because it's got a number of components to it. Let me see. We talked already, I think, about State Street enough. Other topics for others to bring up this evening? Suzanne?
No,
Okay,
it's been quiet in the neighborhood.
great. All right.
I
Nothing.
wanna say thank you all for the work you do.
Thank
I
you.
want to try to get more involved. I've been a little bit lame.
Great. Well, you are absolutely welcome. We'll look forward to having you. I will ask the voting members to stick around for a brief discussion about the proposal before us. And the rest of you, thank you very much. We'll see you in September.
So nice meeting everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you, Sierra. Thank you.
See you.
Appreciate it.